When receiving advice, consider the source and interpret it as just one data point out of many. My obsessive nature has driven me to get decent at program design and graphics programming in general, and I'm on a life journey to keep improving, but otherwise that's it. I don't work in industry, and I'm not a published academic. Chances are you make better life decisions than me too. The reason I'm saying this is I'd feel horrible if anyone found themselves in a worse situation after following my advice. Also, the notion of a roadmap sums this situation up perfectly. There are many ways of getting to your destination. There are highways, scenic routes, roundabouts, and car crashes everywhere. This video is overly simplified, gamified, and intended as motivational entertainment. Before you start out in game development, it might help to take a realistic look at the situation. Information technology and knowledge work is a field with strong job prospects. Sure, technical knowledge is required, but the amount of knowledge is disproportionately less than the pay. There's a real feeling that your time and skills are being leveraged, by which I mean every hour spent reading up on a topic feels like it's doing more than an hour's work for you. That is, in every field of IT besides game development. Game development is a bloodbath. It's a meat grinder. The two reasons for this are simple supply and demand, think 100 or more applicants per job posting, combined with financial risk. Let's embark on the following thought experiment. You need artwork done for your game. So you post up on Fiverr. 100 messages from around the world flood your inbox, and you review them. Would you pick an applicant who can't fully demonstrate that they can do the job, but who are nonetheless passionate? There's probably nuance here, probably a gradient, but to some degree, the financial risk plays a role in your decision. If you can't demonstrate that you can do the job, there are plenty of other people who can. This is not meant to discourage you. I want you to do the thing that gives you meaning, the thing you're obsessed with. I want you to be good. I want to play your games. But I also want you to take the skill building seriously.
Life's just a game to that kid.
But he takes his games very seriously.
Perhaps that's the answer, sweetheart.
There are no shortcuts. This is worth doing, and it's worth doing right. When I was studying my first degree, I'd often slack off unless a subject scared me sufficiently, so consider this your warning shot. As preparation for this, go in expecting it to take time. If at any point you find yourself losing motivation, look at what you're learning and remember how, if this doesn't turn out, you'll still be fine because you've still spent time learning useful skills, even if it's just under the vague umbrella of problem solving. And watch The Martian. Mark Watney is stranded in an environment which is aggressively hostile to human life, but he doesn't let it faze him. Instead, he focuses every day on breaking problems down into sub-problems and consistently doing a fixed amount of work. Some days it's physical labor, some days it's a critical piece of planning. It's also a great metaphor, right? Where Mark sees the Martian desert, I see unemployment, ridicule from family, and my friends buying houses while I weigh up the financial decision of buying lettuce.
I guarantee you that at some point, everything's gonna go south on you. Now you can either accept that, or you can get to work.
The journey itself I've roughly broken down into 3 stages: fundamental skills, industry tools, and networking. These don't have to be followed in a sequential order. For instance, you'll be programming your whole career, and if you get lucky enough to make a cool friend early on, keep them around. However, to me, this progression makes sense. First, you get yourself sorted out, then you learn the same tools that other people use, then you work with people. So, programming. If you're coming in from zero, this can be intimidating. At this early stage, you need to get moving and start building momentum. For that, I say keep the barrier to entry as low as possible. Programming can be pretty hardcore, so I'd recommend spiraling in from an easy approach angle. Start with Python and Pygame, if that helps. Do a bit of work every day, And make something simple like Pong or Tic-Tac-Toe. This is the most important note though. There are plenty of tutorials online on how to make games. Don't read them when you do your original work. That includes any of my own tutorials. Your work doesn't need to be the most original, but the mental labor of formulating and solving problems needs to be done by you. You might find that you're watching and following along with fairly advanced tutorials and your own games look like ass. That's acceptable. This is incredibly critical to get straight from the beginning. The moment you step out and make something, the hand-holding stops. I'm not sure how many different ways to say this, but remember the goal is not to make something that looks cool. The goal is to change something within yourself. Once you've done a simple game in Python, start learning C++. Even though Unity uses C#, it's close enough to C++ that C++ will cover both. It's okay to start from the basics again when switching up to C++. Just catch up to where your Python knowledge was and then keep going. Try making Candy Crush, Snake, or Tetris. If you get to the point where you can make any of those, great. If you've had enough programming, you can probably move on. If on the other hand you consider yourself a real code monkey and still want to learn more, try a simple game with multiple levels, which loads and saves files. Learn GUI programming, for instance, tkinter or Qt. Yes, I know it's pronounced cute. It's my right to mispronounce. And make a level editor. This is a great problem-solving exercise and should hopefully give you an idea of how every aspect of a game's development also takes development time. Note how it's starting to get more important to plan games out before beginning work on them. For enrichment, consider any literary work by Neal Stephenson. Cryptonomicon is long, but it has a sense of adventure and shows how something which appears to be a dry topic, in this case cryptography, is actually alive and the result of man-centuries of human effort made by individuals with passions and goals. For the next stage, pick an industry standard tool and learn it. Unity and Unreal are both good. As far as Godot is concerned, this is all I'll ever say. It's pretty cool, but the people who use it seem a little strange, don't you think? But what's that? I hear you say? You want to roll your own engine? You can, if you've decided that you enjoy programming and want to specialize in it. Otherwise, you can save yourself years of pain and leverage other developers' work. Picking an established engine has the advantage that should you hire people later on, you won't need to spend time training them. And even if you want to go the handmade route, learning an engine can give you an appreciation for the sorts of problems game engines have to solve. Now back to it. Unity or Unreal? Both are decent. I'd say start with Unity since there are more educational resources available. Make a simple game, then transition, adapt the same skills, and remake the same game in Unreal. Unreal C++ code can seem pretty dry and unintuitive when you first come in from scratch. However, if you've programmed in Unity first, you'll have an idea of the underlying concepts. For instance, the Unity entity component system, and you'll be able to better see the territory in Unreal. To be completely open with you, I'd consider myself to be starting out at this stage. Running the YouTube channel means I've been excessively focused on the programming side, but I'm now starting to get into Unity. For enrichment, consider the anime series New Game.
笑わない？さくらさんの作った。そうですよ。すごいでしょう。
Now, it's not for everyone. They do the anime thing where the game developers are all girls and they spend all-nighters in the office walking around without pants on. I just think it's a cool show. I couldn't say why. There are 2 seasons. It's on Crunchyroll. The second season in particular goes more in depth on a project life cycle. Other people are an incredible resource, whether they motivate you to get better at what you do, or they can help you out with work you don't have the skills or the time for, or both. So far you've been learning, but you've probably just been making little mini games. Time to meet people, make friends, help each other, and make something bigger. Programming is lonely, so you'll find that a lot of developers are generous with their time. I know personally that I love talking with people who are trying hard to learn and making original work. What if you reach out to someone and they're rude? Well, They might be under time pressure. But if they're really just a jerk, then don't sweat it. The fact is that in any field of work, people with low skill level who are just trying to hold on are more likely to be competitive and catty, whereas true professionals and people with an upward trajectory, will give you the respect you deserve and encourage you. At the end of the day, your career and skills are more important than any sick burn someone lays on you. Having said that, just because stage 3 is called networking, that doesn't mean that you need to force the first professional friendship you strike up. Use your best judgment. So here's a game plan. You have some work, real stuff that you've been making, both by hand and with a professional tool like Unreal. And you meet up with other people who can do stuff, maybe stuff that you can't do, and maybe you can do stuff they can't do, but you have common interests and you know how to work together today without retraining. So you plan something cool and together you make it. These steps take time. Like I said, no shortcuts. And I won't pretend I'm successful here. I'm just humbly taking my steps. But where do we go from here? Well, if you've made a project in a small team, you're probably ready for industry. If you're not sure about industry, then you're definitely ready for making projects in small teams. This is where I leave you. Good luck. There's something else you need to be doing in the background all the time. That's developing your artistic taste, enriching your soul as a human being on planet Earth. Remember what I said about how 100 plus applicants are throwing themselves at every game job? Well, the artistic output from those studios is crap. I have some pretty strong feelings on the way our rich and vibrant entertainment has been flushed down the concrete toilet that is our capitalist human farm of a society. Video games have been standardized and nerfed and homogenized, and at every step of the way, the decisions made were rational, but the end product has been a death by 1,000 cuts. And the victims are no less than the hearts and minds of a whole generation. Gaming needs indie developers. It needs rogue agents with nothing to lose who are just dedicated enough to throw caution to the wind and make cool original work that makes us all smile. I need to dream again. I want to play your game.